Now we are going to show you how to do a depth adjustment on the 040 Speed. The machine comes with really nice handy adjusting keys that are multi-purpose for the depth and spacing adjustment. You simply take your adjustment key, slide it into the left jaw, slide the other one in your right jaw with the V's pointing up, flip up your shoulder gauge, shoulder each key perfectly, and pull down your gauge out of the way. Next step is to press down the handle and press the red Carriage unlocking knob and bring adjusting keys up to the cutter. Now the key tracer and cutter should be parallel to each other, so simply by taking your right hand and thumbing the brush in a downward motion, the cutter, to be properly adjusted, should barely start touching the surface of the key. Once you have that, then you have a perfect adjustment. The other scenario would be if it is cutting into the gauges where it's actually scraping and trying to remove material, or you can't move the cutter downwards. You need to adjust the key tracer point by simply loosening up with the 3mm Allen wrench, and simply by turning your adjustment wheel to the right and rechecking your depth where that cutter is backed off, key tracer is backed off, and she is barely touching the top of the key without removing any material. The third scenario would be if the cutter wheel was not touching the adjustment keys. That is called cutting shallow. So you'd simply would go back to your set screw that holds down your tracer point, and you would turn the adjustment wheel towards the left. That would bring the cutter in, and you would just barely start scraping the top of your adjustment key, and you would tighten down your cutter guide, or also called tracer point. You would push down on your handle and put it back in a locked position and pull out your adjustment bars and put them in a safe place, because you would need to check your calibration at least once a week and to make sure that is properly in calibration to make correct keys. The next adjustment is called the access calibration, or commonly known as a spacing adjustment. It is also done with these two nice adjusting keys that come with each machine. Simply by putting one in the left jaw carefully and putting one in the right jaw carefully, pressing down on your carriage handle, releasing your unlocking carriage knob, and fitting the key tracer point, and the cutter will go into that V, exactly hitting the bottom and showing that it's aligned up. This is access calibration, is pre-adjusted and done in the factory. The next step you would do, you would pull down your carriage handle in the locked position. The next step you do is you flip up your shoulder gauge to shoulder up on the adjustment keys, and if you notice, you have a spot here or in the distance, noticeable difference where the shoulder gauge is not touching the tool. You would simply loosen this Allen screw and slide over to your carriage to the stop, and flip down your bar, and you're done. The next feature of this machine is to show you how to adjust the clamp protector, or also known as a carriage stop. The carriage stop is located right here, and it is very simple. It just stops the cutter from hitting the jaw. A well-adjusted carriage stop will save money, save jaws, and also miscuts. If it's not adjusted properly and it is too far away from the surface of the jaw, you will not be able to cut keys that have deep cuts, which would be a problem. The way it is adjusted is you take your carriage handle, you press it down, unlock it, and you should have, with an ordinary business card, a nice tight feeling between the top of the jaw and the cutter. So when you bring out the card, it should be very snug, but the cutter should definitely not be touching the surface of the top of the jaw, so it can get to the close, deep cuts that some keys may have. So if it is not, and if it's too far away, you simply just uncrack this locking nut here, and you turn this knurled knob to the position, back it off, you check your spacing with the ordinary business card. Once you get that proper dimension, then you tighten down your lock screw and you're ready to go. It's a good idea to check this periodically. You should never cut in those jaws if it's properly maintained.